Welcome to ILHAM and this afternoon's program, a conversation between our friend and long-term collaborator, Han Nefkens, patron of the Han Nefkens Foundation, and writer and playwright Faisal Tehrani. Today's program is in conjunction with the release of the book, The Joy of Sharing, produced by the Han Nefkens Foundation. As the contributing writer from Malaysia, Faisal Tehrani will be reading from his text, The Republic of Old People, which was commissioned for the publication. His text was inspired by a video work, Hand in Hand with Amigos Para Siempre, by Korean artist Jungju An. We will begin today's program with the screening of the video, followed by a reading by Faisal. Before the screening of the video, I would like to invite Han Nefkens to give a short introduction to the book.
Good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to thank ILHAM Gallery, Rahel, and all the people who work here for organizing this event. And I'd like to thank you all for being here this Saturday afternoon. The fact that you give up your Saturday afternoon to be here tells me that you are motivated. So it's very nice to be here with you. I'd like to tell you a little bit about why we are here together this afternoon. And I have to start at the beginning. When I was a boy growing up in Rotterdam in the 60s, I felt lonely. I felt disconnected with other people. I could not get along very well with boys of my age. My siblings were much younger than I was. And I can remember very well that I was standing in my room on the top of our house, looking out of the window, and I heard children talking, laughing, and I put my nose against the window just to see them, but I couldn't see them because they were close to the house. And I wanted to rush down the staircase and be with them, but I didn't. I just stood there, paralyzed. I still don't know what the reason is, but what I do know is that this incredible desire to be with other children, with other people, is my motor. That's my reason of doing everything I do, the writing, the being involved in art projects. I want to reach out and connect with other people. Now we fast forward many, many years. In 1999, I was in Paris. I was not involved in contemporary art at the time, but I saw an exhibition announced that was called The Remake of the Weekend by an artist whose name is Pipi Lottirist. I didn't know her, but I thought somebody with such a funny name might be worth seeing. And I went in there. She was a video artist, and she projected different videos she had made on a kitchen, a living room, a bedroom, like a house. And the videos were of herself often, in a meadow, running around close to the sea, in all these very bright colors. It was almost a little bit like a psychedelic experience. And she also sang, she had a band. So the soundtrack was of Pipi Lotti singing in a very compelling voice, and all these images of her rolling through the grass, the drops on her skin, it felt like you could almost touch them. And I was mesmerized by this experience of being part of an artwork, really. So I spent about 2.5 hours there, and when I went out and I stood there in the sunlight and my eyes blinked, I said, I want to be part of that. But how am I going to be part of that? Because I'm not an artist. So I thought, okay, I could become a collector. But I didn't like the idea of collecting, of having pieces of art in a storage somewhere or just in my house. I was absolutely convinced that I wanted to share what I liked with other people. So I was thinking for a way to organize that. So I got together with the director, Charles X, the director of a museum in the Netherlands, and he said, okay, if what you buy goes with the way the museum is collecting, we will have it on loan. So together we went to the Basel Art Fair. And I got in there and I heard this song that sort of sounded familiar to me, and I walked and then saw this huge video installation, and I saw Pipilotirist again. So instead of going through Art Basel and visiting all the different stands, I spent most of my time again being mesmerized by the video of Pipilotirist. And then Charles, because the idea of visiting Art Basel was that he would show me what he liked and I showed him what I liked, to see if we had similar tastes. Because obviously collaboration, if we had completely different tastes, wouldn't make any sense. So Charles said, there's something I want to show you. And we went to the installation of Pipilotirist. I said, yes, okay, let's buy it. So that was my first purchase, the video of Pipilotirist. It went to the museum, it went to different art exhibitions as well, and I started collaborating with Charles, with his museum, where we first bought art, but then later on decided to produce art. Because there are lots of artists who, even though they're well known, do not have the funds to produce a new work. Galleries are not so eager to do that. They don't have the funds. So we selected, together with the curators of the museum, so we sat at a table and we selected a number of artists that we wanted to work with, that we commissioned to make works specifically for the museum. And I really liked this idea of being there at the beginning of the creative process, of the work not even being there, just being an idea, a thought, and then later, a year later, seeing it there in the museum. That's a very rewarding idea. So I collaborated with Charles, and I branched off to all sorts of different areas, including cutting-edge fashion, because I'm curious about practically everything, except for sports, I'm sorry to say. And I did lots of things. So if people ask me, what do you do? I would tell them, well, sit down, take a cup of coffee, and explain you everything I do. And through coincidence, an exhibition we had of the fashion we produced was shown in China, in Shanghai. And there was a Chinese curator who had looked at my website and asked me if he could make an exhibition of the videos from my collection. I'd never thought about that. And I said, sure, go ahead. I thought, something will happen and it won't go through, I'm sure. But it did go through. And then I saw 9 or 10 of my videos, of my private collection, in this wonderful museum, with enough space for each video to breathe. There was no interference of the sounds, and I just walked from one to the other. So this is so wonderful. Forget about cutting-edge fashion, forget about all the other things. All I'm going to do is support video artists. Now, I know that for a lot of people the question comes, so what is video art anyway? What is it, the same as a documentary? Or is it like something we see on YouTube? And similarly to what is art, the answer is not so easy. But I would say that video is just the medium an artist uses, just as other artists use painting or sculptures. The difference with video is that it has a scope for a narrative, a story that's being told, which obviously you don't have when you have a photo. And I think as a writer, the idea of a narrative really appeals to me. And the poetic part of it as well, the aesthetic part of it as well. But sometimes video art can also be very disruptive and very difficult to understand. It's not an easy art. And it's also very demanding of the public, because with a painting you can sort of walk by and look at it for a couple of minutes and then continue. With a video, you have to commit to sitting down for perhaps 10, 15 minutes, perhaps even longer, to see the whole video. So it's not for everybody. It's really for people who are committed. And I like to commit myself. So I said, I want to support video artists. There are not many foundations that support video artists per se. I'm very curious to see what's going on in the world with video artists, but I don't want to do it on my own. I had my experience with the Museum Boijmans van Beuningen, how nice it was to collaborate with other art institutions. So we set up a project, a program, where we collaborate with different art institutions all over the world, and the art institutions get together. We send them a list of artists that may be interesting to receive a grant or a commission, and together, without my interference, they talk about who is going to be the artist that they support. So, to make a long story brief, or to make a short story long, that's one of my preferences actually. We now work with almost 50 art institutions with 5 grants and 3 commissions that help video artists. So the artist receives money to produce a new work that's being shown at the art institution. And there are art institutions in Tokyo, in Miami, in Mexico City, in Barcelona, of course, and ILHAM Gallery here in Kuala Lumpur. I've been involved in the art world as an art activator, as I would like to say, for 25 years now, and I wanted to celebrate that. So what I did is I combined 2 of my passions. One passion is obviously art. The other passion is writing, because I'm a writer. I published a number of books. I have a literary blog, hannefkens.com. I'm going to make a little bit of PR for myself now. If you go there, you can subscribe, and then you will receive by mail the different pieces that I write whenever they appear on the blog. I want to combine those 2 passions, writing and art. So we asked 25 international writers to write a piece inspired by one of the videos that we produced. And it's interesting, we'll talk about that later, Faisal and I, because there were writers who never saw video art. This was a completely new experience for them. So I'm really keen to find out how they reacted to that. But then the book was there a couple of months ago, and I said, okay, this is only the beginning. I want to meet those writers. I want to talk with them. I want to see how they react to the video they used as a base for the piece they wrote. So I started to organize a tour to meet the different writers. The video will be shown. I will have a conversation with the writers. And Kuala Lumpur is the first place of my tour. Faisal is the first writer I will talk to. And it has to do with the fact that Kuala Lumpur is a place that's very close to my heart. I was here a year and a half ago. I met wonderful people, and once you meet one person in Kuala Lumpur, they introduce you to their friends, and through that you meet other people. So I also almost have a livelier social scene here in Kuala Lumpur than I have in Barcelona. So you'll see me back here. Anyway, once you get me talking about my 2 passions, we can stay here for a very long time. I will now let you enjoy the video, and I will talk with Faisal about how he experienced it. Thank you very much.
I would now like to invite Faisal Tehrani to give a reading from his piece.
Lihat sayang, dia terlalu lembik. Tangannya menggeletar. Saya seriau jika dulang penuh cangkir dan piring kotor itu akan jatuh terlepas. Dia tidak mampu berjalan. Lihat. Moga-moga Tuhan menghindari apa-apa yang buruk. Sayang, sudah, berhentilah merakam. Mungkinkah umurnya sebaya kita? Ya, mungkin lebih 80-an. Mungkin tidak sampai 80-an. Dalam lingkungan 70-an. Wanita itu, adakah dia sakit? Lelaki itu lebih lemah. Dia mungkin akan tersadung pada kaki meja atau kerusi dan menjatuhkan semua pinggan mangkuk yang dikutipnya. Oh, moga-moga tidak. Adakah dia beransur-ansur sembuh daripada Parkinson? Tangan, bahu dan kepalanya nampak bergegar. Yang lelaki itu tampak persis penderita Parkinson. Saya sedang bercakap tentang wanita itu. Di kurat tangannya terdapat semacam ruam. Menakutkan, Madu. Harap-harap bukan cacar monyet ya. Tadi pagi ada berita menyebutkan sudah ada 15 kes cacar monyet di republik ini. Ini akan jadi percutian yang sungguh menakutkan jika begitu. Tapi sayang, kelihatan ia hanya ruam, bukan kutil. Pesakit atau orang yang punya Parkinson juga ada masalah kulit sebagai salah satu tanda sakit itu. Tapi ya bukan dengan berbintil atau berkutil. Hampir pasti ia Parkinson, bukan cacar monyet. Kasihan sekali ya. Tua-tua dan menderita Parkinson tapi masih perlu bekerja. Awak yang membagikan soal ini tadi. Tapi ya, saya tidak mengatakan ia cacar. Saya hanya menjelaskan terdapat semacam ruam pada wanita itu. Abang yang membangkitkan perihal cacar. Konon sudah ada banyak kes lah, bla bla bla. Lelaki itu perlahan sekali. Apakah yang membuatkannya masih bekerja? Mungkin dia pemilik kafe ini. Jadi dia membantu serba sedikit apa yang boleh. Kalau dia pemilik atau ibu bapa kepada pemilik, mengapa mereka harus bekerja? Tidak hairanlah makanan kita belum tiba-tiba. Tapi kan, awak memesan X-Band. Itu memang sajian yang memakan masa untuk disediakan. Makanan saya sekadar bagel kosong dengan keju lupa dan saffron jam strawberry Beerenberg. Siapa? Petro, buah hati mama. Jawablah panggilan tu. Ya sayang. Ya, kami sihat-sihat saja. Tentu mama dengan papamu sekarang. Kami di kafe menanti pesanan makanan yang kelihatannya sudah dilupakan. Kelihatannya masih ada kes-kes baru meski tidak serius. Apa? Oh ya, di sini tidak begitu panas, padahal kami berhampiran garis khatulistiwa. Paulo? Oh ya, pastikan kuda-kuda itu diberi minum secukupnya ya. Cuaca panas di sana bukan saja mengancam spesies manusia. Layanlah Paulo dengan baik. Dia sudah tua. Kamu mau bercakap dengan Papa? Papa sudah ketandas, sayang. Baiklah, bye. Mengapa mengelakkan Pietro? Saya tiada apa untuk dibualkan. Kerana pilihannya. Saya tiada apa untuk disembangkan dengan Pietro. Dia anak kita. Sebetulnya kita perlu menghormati pilihannya. Migran dan Arab. Lihat, keterbukaan ada beberapa lapisnya, bukan? Ya untuk warna kulit misalnya, tetapi tidak untuk agamanya. Ya untuk orientasi tertentu misalnya, tetapi tidak untuk bangsanya. Ya untuk agama misalnya, tetapi tidak untuk orientasinya pula. Ya untuk perempuan, tetapi tidak untuk usianya. Makanan kita masih belum sampai. Kalau masih lama, kita berpindah saja ke kafe lain. Di kafe sebelah pun kelihatannya yang bekerja adalah orang tua seperti kita juga. Negeri orang tua. Barangkali mereka sangat menghormati orang tua. Dengan membiarkan mereka sebagai juru bersih memenuhi ruang pejabat, stesen kereta api, restoran dan kafe, taman dan padang, pusat-pusat membeli belah. Shh, rendahkan suaramu. Lihat orang tua itu. Semuanya tidak layak lagi untuk bekerja. Tampak uzur. Moga-moga bukan demam. Sudah. Alat ini belum sah penggunaannya dari segi undang-undang di negeri ini. Undang-undang mereka ketat sekali. Tidak boleh meludah, tidak boleh gula-gula getah, tidak boleh macam-macam. Hati-hatilah, alat itu mahal sekali. Jangan sampai jatuh ke lantai dan retak. Nanti kita disangka melakukan racial profiling. Elok kita tanyakan pesanan kita, pasti mereka terlupa. Maklumlah, sudah tua. 30% daripada keseluruhan populasi republik ini berusia 65 tahun ke atas. Kami dipaksa bersara awal supaya majikan tidak perlu membayar cukai dan menanggung perbelanjaan besar. Kami tiada tabungan di hari tua. Kami ada simpanan di hari tua sehingga usia 65 tahun. Tetapi malangnya, kami tidak mati-mati dan terus hidup sehingga ke hari ini. Kami perlu terus bekerja kerana kami tidak punya anak-anak untuk dijadikan tempat pergantungan. Republik ini tiada sistem keselamatan sosial. Republik ini tidak percaya dengan skim persaraan. Kos kehidupan di sini luar biasa tinggi. Tumpuan republik ini adalah pasaran aset dan hartanah. Kami perlu bersaing dengan tenaga buruh dari luar yang murah. Tiada sumber peruntukan untuk mengatasi masalah kami. Tiada keseriusan untuk menumbuhkan ekonomi Perak. Mereka akan memberitahu kami bahawa kamu seorang lelaki tua perlu bersenam. Bekerja adalah bersenam. Ini adalah jurang kaya dan miskin. Ini adalah perhambaan tanpa sedar. Kami memerlukan seorang penyelamat sekarang. 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 Terima kasih.
So, Faisal, thank you very much for your performance. I would say it's more than a reading. I didn't understand. Of course, I read it, so, so I know what you were talking about with a couple of words. But it's really nice to hear a language that you're not familiar with, because even if you don't know the words, it tells you something about the culture. The rhythm, the way the words are pronounced, and I must say the passion with which you acted it out, as it were. That was really very good. So my first question is, Were you familiar with video art before you saw this video?
No, not at all.
Yeah, I think that's part of my job, really, to have people who don't know about video art look at it. So what was your first impression when you saw? Well, first of all, why did you select this video?
Yeah, we as a writer, we were given a few selection, yeah, and I think this one is the most engaging from my point of view. I don't know why, because I still remember the opening ceremony of Olympic in Seoul in 1988, if I'm not mistaken. And at least there are three things that are still in my mind about the opening ceremony. First of all is, I think, there's a song, I mean, like sort of like for a campaign for this Seoul Olympic. So they pick up a few artists from the whole around the world. At that time, I was still in primary school, I think. I remember there was a singer, Raja Emma. So she sings song like a Mentari di Korea. I can't remember the lyric, other lines, but it's about Seoul. It's about the Olympic. But then when I saw, I mean, it was a extravaganza, opening with, I mean, as ASEAN, we are supposed to be proud because it's I think the first among the first, I think, Olympic in Asia. But one thing that was quite embarrassing was actually during the Seoul opening was there are a few pigeons were grilled during the I think you can search for the video online. That is among others that what I remember about it, other than Florence Griffith Joyner, Greg Louganis, and also Barcelona. I mean, I always want to be an athlete, although that I never made it as one. And so Olympic is sort of like a celebration of diversity, championship, and struggle. And when I was watching the video, I was in Singapore. I was there for a year, and it really actually disturbed me, the video. I mean, like, first of all, I said, what is this guy trying to convey? I mean, like, with collage of songs and people dancing, people walking, people performing. It really made me baffled, yeah, and it stick in my mind. So that's the thing about this video. So I said that, okay, fine. I'm choosing this. I said, but at the moment I don't know how I'm going to interpret it, or should I interpret it? I mean, I remember, I think, Sorrento, I think, I said, should I interpret it? I mean, like, how should I access this this video? I mean, above all, what is video art? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the big question. It comes back time and again. What's video art? At the same time, when you see this video, you know that it's not the same as an ordinary movie or documentary.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like video art is compared to just commercial films. It's like a poem compared to a novel.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be poetic, but it can also be disturbing.
Yeah.
And particularly because of the medium, it can cut, right? And it can sort of shake your sense of logic, of rhythm, of time. And Jungju An is a star in doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really intrigued by the fact that this was your first exposure to video art, and you chose, let's say, the most unhinging video that's there.
Yeah.
So that tells me perhaps a little bit about you.
And I tried to Google An actually. There's not much about the video artist for me to actually to access.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's very true. But I think, people often ask, so what is the meaning? What is this artist trying to convey? And then you can come up with a very interesting and profound story that really only very bright people understand. But I sort of think, why? Why do we have to interpret things? Why do we have to say what the meaning is? We can just sort of experience it, right? And look at it and feel it, as it were. And then certain emotions come up. But you don't have to rationalize it. You don't have to look for concepts behind it. I think it's really, in life in general, I think it's really kind of liberating to let go of concepts and to let things just be what they are. And so the jump from the video to your piece is really quite interesting.
Yeah. So at one point, as you said, that I just give up interpreting or assessing the video.
You did very well in doing that.
Yeah, because I think that obviously the artist want to send to convey a certain message that I will not understand until I sit down with him or her. I'm not sure. Him. And at that moment only that he can actually reveal, perhaps if you want to reveal it. So then I decided that, okay, so what are the things that stir me most? I mean, like shake me or disturb me. So there are a few things from the video that disturb me. First of all, the songs. I mean, like how it blends, collage, and doesn't make sense. It's sort of like a dialogue, but it's not a dialogue at all. And then he just put some elements or strange things that and make it sort of like staggered, and slow motion a bit. And at that very moment when I was sitting eating my rojak actually at one bazaar in Singapore, I saw a mound of old people actually working in the cafe, bringing trays, cleaning, and I was like looking at them and said, what are they doing here? I mean, like they're past their age, retirement age. And then I look at the video again and again, and then I saw this, the singers. I said, what if, I mean, these singers, lovers, perhaps they are someone quite old, but have a very, easy life, quite wealthy, retired, and they come to this republic, to this region, and look at this situation, this phenomenal or this absurd reality. And again the video disturbed me. So there are a few things that actually keep creeping my mind, the Maori dance, the Arab dance, the sword dance, and why it's there. So all these stirred my emotion, as I said, and it sparked immediately an idea for me to write a short play. And I was also reading, I think, Beckett at that time. So that's why there's this genre, with so it links. It's really linked with the absurdism that An tried to.
The ridiculization as well, the whole Olympic thing, actually, right?
Yeah. So everything comes together, and
But I think it's really striking that you were disturbed by the video, because I think this is one of the functions of art as well. Of course, art can be beautiful and it can touch us, but art can also be disturbing and makes us think about things. It sort of brings out certain feelings, and this video is an example of that, and I think video art can work very well in that sense. You've seen the 25 videos, and there was a huge variety. There were videos which are poetic and sort of beautiful, but then there are other ones that are really quite disturbing. You sort of wonder, what is this artist trying to do? That was my first reaction as well with Jungju. What is he trying to do? And then, I don't know if you had the same experience, but if you see something several times, you live it in a different way, right?
Yeah.
And you see different layers. You understand a little bit more about this criticism really of the whole Olympic theater. So you wrote about the elderly people because of your surrounding in Singapore.
Yeah.
Now, as an elderly person myself, of course, I was kind of pleased that finally somebody writes about old people. and I also like the juxtaposition between the well-off couple that they don't seem to have big worries really, a little bit spoiled, right? Where's my coffee? It takes so much time, while Sarah seems to be much more empathetic towards the waiters, worried about them, and then the waiters that you described, that you sort of become too concerned. You know, these are old people who still have to work, so that brings out different feelings, different sides of older people who still have to work, and others who don't. So it almost, based on the ridiculization of the Olympics, you take a critical view of the difference between elderly people, some who are well off and others who have to work.
Yeah, and at that particular moment, actually, I remember asking that should I write a short story, or should I write sort of like a report, or a long poetry? I mean, nobody actually guide me what to do. I mean, like it's totally. I mean, like I'm blank.
Open.
Yeah. And as you said, as the Olympic is a kind of presentation of in my view struggle, achievement, but also with all the juxtaposition, collage with music, whatsoever, it makes no sense. And looking at the people working by my surrounding, I say that perhaps maybe I can put dance, I can put colors also in the text. And at that moment I was thinking that maybe it's not short story, maybe it's not poetry, maybe it should be a sort of like a monologue or short play. So then it makes sense for me to come up with this so-called play.
It is a play, and the fact that those elderly people move in a way that's almost like a dance as well.
Yeah.
It's actually quite beautiful, even though it's sad. I saw it in my mind, and it's kind of beautiful as well. So I thought this is very interesting because it could easily be made into a video as well. So here we have a play that's inspired by a video that could be inspired into a video, another video. So we can go on for quite a while with that.
That's my point. I mean, I was thinking like perhaps because I'm so-called, I mean, like forced to make to be inspired from this kind of art. I say that now I should make something that actually disturb people and also force people in a way to look at it and inspire them in a way. So it's a chain, reaction. So that's why I was thinking like maybe if it's poetry, it won't be like this. It won't like stir, the emotions. Maybe because maybe I'm not a good poet. So that's why I chose this particular genre.
Yeah. I have the feeling that the question is, what is art? It's very complicated to answer, but the question, what is good art? What is good writing is a little bit easier for me to answer, because it means that if an artist or a writer has something to say and finds the right form to say it, it is good. So in your case, you thought about the different forms that would be most suitable for what you wanted to say, and you chose a play. I think that's good literature, really. And that brings me to another point. Faisal, a question I ask myself very often: why do we write?
Oh, okay.
You didn't expect that one, right?
Yeah. I write to argue. Because one of the most, my first so-called literary production, or my first work, literary piece, was actually when I think I was like 12 years old. My mother came to me and said that, there's, if you notice, there's so many stray dogs in our neighborhood, and I'm a bit scared to say that. And I don't think that, we need to do something about the stray dogs. She said. So she said, so what can I do? She said, write something, and send it to the newspaper. Send it to, I'm 12 years old. But then, 12 years old at that time, I'm Gen X. We write. We read and we write, yeah? So I get my mother's typewriter and start writing. So, but the depiction of the stray dogs was actually, they are very fierce. They even bite people. I create some stuff, in my mind. And I put down in a letter. My mother sent it to our local municipal. And I think after 1 week after that, they came and pick up all the dogs. I was like, at that moment, I said that, wow, actually, my writings can actually put people in action.
Yeah.
So I was 12 years old at that time.
And already an activist.
And at the time, also a few occasions also, I did almost the same thing. And after a certain time, people came to me and said, hey, you can write, just like my mother. So please write about us. Please, certain communities came to me, minorities came to me. So suddenly I became accidental human rights defender. And suddenly I also became accidental, spokesperson for these kind of groups. Yeah. So that became my journey, writing so-called for them, to put their voice in my writings. And then I get myself into trouble because of that. So I get my books banned. So I think that I write to argue.
And to stir up something, right?
And to interrupt people.
Yeah. Well, this is interesting. Again, I ask myself that question only recent. Well, I ask it all the time. Joan Didion, a writer that I very much enjoy, said, "Why do I write? If I knew why I wrote, I wouldn't be writing." She's right there. And so I asked myself that answer that she gave is not enough for me. I want to go a little bit further. So I think I write to explore my own thoughts. But then, of course, the second question is, why do you publish? Why do you want to be read? Because I could easily write in my journal, and I could do whatever I want to do. Why do I feel this urge, this need to be read? And it has to do with my standing behind the window when I was a young boy, 8 years old, in a very quiet, boring suburb of Rotterdam, hearing the other children play outside and not being able to go out, be with them. So I write because I'm an observer of what I see, and I want to share my observations with other people, even if I don't know them. So I'm an outsider who observes, but who uses that, what he writes, to find an entrance into the world, so I'm also a little bit inside. It's kind of a complicated circle. I only thought about this here in KL a couple of days ago. But it's a complicated circle, and that might be an explanation. Because why do I have this terrible urge? I'm sure you have that urge as well to write, even if you know that your books will be banned. It doesn't make any difference, you have to write. So, our lives could have been much easier if we didn't write.
Yeah.
Much easier for you on many levels, for me only because then I could do other things and I wouldn't be suffering as much, because when you write you suffer.
Yeah.
You know, you feel you have to go out, I have to go out every morning, I have to go to my studio. I'm very lucky, I have a shed, or I had a shed in the terrace of my house. It's 50 steps from the house. And my partner Felipe turned it into a writing studio. So every morning I walk the 50 steps to my writing studio, sit down, and tell myself, so, go and write. Oh my God, what am I going to write about? This anxiety, oh my God, I cannot write anymore. I wrote last week, I finished a piece, but I cannot write anymore. I'm never going to be able to write again. My life will have been completely useless. Why is it so important? And I don't even know the people who read me, you know. And I have to put something on my blog, because if not, I will disappoint the people. That people don't even notice it when they don't get it for a while. So it's this anxiety that we put upon ourselves, right?
Yeah,
you have that too?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, good. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. So we chose not to have an easy life.
Yeah. But I think that's, I mean, for most of us actually, we just chose certain medium of art to express ourselves, to observe, to argue, to debate, to ponder. For us, it might be writing. For them, making videos. We keep on producing because we are actually human. We have brains, so we're creative, and that's why the AI, the artificial intelligence, won't actually beat us.
No way.
Yeah, no way they can make this video.
But you can tell right away if it's made by AI or if it's made by a person. By the way, so I'm not worried about the competition coming from AI.
Yeah, me too.
So when I talk with the artists who work with people, it's a little bit the same. You know, this need to be an artist. It's the same as being an artist. It's taking a vow of poverty, because very rarely do they become rich. You know, you have these stories in the newspapers of paintings that sell for millions of dollars. It's only a fraction. Plus, generally, the paintings are already owned by somebody else. The artist doesn't receive that money. So it's almost taking a vow of poverty, of having a difficult life. And they do so because they cannot do otherwise. And that's why it's very rewarding for me to share that with you and with the artists that we work with, to sort of feel that we're kind of a tribe that want to also hold up a mirror to the world, right? This is what we see, and we like you to look at it. And, do you get reactions to your, other than the censorship? I mean, reactions to what you write?
Yeah, I get tons of reactions. I mean, like, there are people who write to me and say, "Oh, we felt very horny, I mean, with your writing." Something like that. There are also people who say that we feel really, you know, our spirituality enhanced in a way. I mean, like, there's sort of things. I mean, like, that things that doesn't make sense. I mean, to me, and it scares me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, being out there. I mean, like, people judging. Yeah. People judging.
Yeah.
So this is among the things that a burden to be an artist. I think. Yeah. I think you mentioned about this when we have lunch together. I think last year. I think last week. I can't remember. About this burden and how you want to release it in a way that to share, to make this joy of sharing, with your own platform, gallery, you know, giving funds to give other artists actually the same feeling and easiness. But at the same time also being connected to each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's good, what I look for. Obviously, I wasn't able to play with the kids in Rotterdam more than 60 years ago, but I can be with the artists and writers I work with. You know, when we mentioned what I do, I think for the artist, of course, it's wonderful to get money to make a new work, and of course, it's very nice that you have the art institutions when you work. It's really helpful, but I feel that the most important part is the trust they receive from us. You know, the fact that we say, okay, we believe in you, we give you funds so you can make the work. So it's this sense of trust that's like a psychological boost. It's really important. Do you get that as well from time to time?
Yeah, almost all the time.
Great.
Yeah.
Makes you feel good.
Make me feel narcissistic sometimes. Yeah, make me feel good, make me feel worried. Yeah. Is this a responsibility?
It's a responsibility.
Is it? I mean, like, I keep questioning myself. I mean, like, what if I don't? What if I don't write?
Yeah.
Maybe the stray dogs are still there. I don't know.
Yeah.
These are the things that actually, and suddenly when I start writing and then I say that I have to write. I know why? I mean, like, maybe people need it. I mean, like, because I write to argue. This is the thing. So, you know, it's kind of a torture. Yeah.
Oh yeah, telling me, yeah, of course it is. But let me ask you a question. If nobody would read you, would you still write?
I will still write.
Yeah, me too.
The thing is that who's going to publish?
Yeah. But that's actually almost like a secondary thought, right?
Yes. Yeah.
First you write and then you hope somebody will publish it. So I don't know how we're doing time-wise. Perhaps we can give the floor to, Can we go to question and answers, or can we continue? Because Faisal and I can be here until breakfast. Okay, if anybody has a question.
I have a question.
I'm not surprised.
I know some of your writings. You are a lovely writer. I just wonder, being a disruptor and an activist, when you did The Republic of Old People, since you were actually in Singapore, was it rather tongue-in-cheek to write about the silver economy in Singapore?
No, I think, I noticed that it's not a situation in Singapore only. Malaysia is having the same thing. I just came back from South Korea, and they're also saying the same thing.
Absolutely. You see these
Japan.
old
Yeah.
people burdened with newspapers and cardboard.
Yeah, and it really disturbed me.
Yeah.
Kind of, the week that I've written the so-called play, I've been watching this video over and over again, and looking at the old people, workers and laborers, still there. So all these really disturbed me, and it mixed together, and so this play come out because of that. Yeah, the interruption, the disturbance. So not really about just because to promote to propose silver economy. Not really. Yeah, but it's in my interaction with the community that I think that this is something. This is responsibility. This is we have to look at it. What are they doing here? Yeah.
I think it's really interesting to see how we get from Jungju An's video about the Olympics to.
I hope he read it.
concerned.
I hope he has.
Yeah. We sent it. Being concerned about old people. I'm sure he didn't expect that. Are there any other questions? Yes.
For those who failed to answer, can you explain a bit about that play you just presented?
Oh, we have this book, The Joy of Sharing. There's a Bahasa version of it, and also the English version of it. So it's been translated into English.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
It's at the door.
Okay.
So the idea is, Han's idea is that it's really amazing that so there's a writer writing in their own native language, Korean, and then also so we translated it to the most accessible language, obviously English. So you can just compare.
Okay.
Yeah. And the thing is that when I received the book, I was like, quite really excited actually, because there are a few of the writers are actually my old friends, actually, like Pravda Yoon from Thailand, and Norman Erickson Pasaribu, from Indonesia. So I was like, oh, I'm so excited. I'm in the list. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for putting us. This is really a surprise. So you can get it.
Thank you for making this the art for the book. But yes, so we asked our scouts and we asked the artists and the people from the art institutions we work with to give us a suggestion of a writer. And but we did ask that it's a writer who's already translated into English, so that way we could read the work to see if that's something we'd like to work with, but also as a filter. An artist that has been translated into English means that it's an author that's already being read. So, and it was very important for us to put the original language there as well, as a respect for the culture. Even though I cannot read most of those, it's nice to see the words and different letter types and Georgian next to Japanese and Farsi. So it shows the diversity as well. Are there any questions?
Is your work overall translated in English?
There are a few my novels.
Interesting.
I have a question. So I'm a young writer myself, and I found the conversation about why you write and what kind of inspirations you draw on when you write particularly illuminating for me. I guess my question is more, what's a book or like a piece of writing that you read that you consider foundational to like your style or like the way you are? Maybe I can read it.
No, you go ahead. It's too difficult a question.
Well, I read almost everything. I mean, like my interests are actually, wide. I have a variety of interests, and at the moment I'm reading Pedro Almodovar's book, I Dream. Kind of like a short story, or maybe a memoir, kind of. And I just finished Han Kang. Yeah. So there are a few books that I think is a must, according to me. As I'm a Malay, maybe Hikayat Mushi Abdullah is one of the must. Also dictionary is a must. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
I think in my case it's a bit cumulative. I've also been reading from the time I was able to read whatever I could get my hands on. And of course I have read the obligatory Ryan Shakespeare and Tolstoy and Proust in the years. And I reread what I read before as well, and then it seems like an almost different book because I'm a different person, so I see it differently. So I do think it's really important to read a lot, so you get inspired, and it's not so important if it's just one author, because sometimes you read something and you don't like it, but then you think about why you don't like it, and that can improve your writing as well. But the biggest challenge for any writer, and particularly for a young writer, is to find your own voice, and that can take a long time.
Yeah.
And you need certain confidence. You have to sort of believe in yourself to find your own voice. So.
Thank you very much.
I just wanted to add that I've not watched video art in my life, so thank you very much for opening this whole genre up. And your piece that you wrote, actually very coincidentally, my sister-in-law who's from Seoul, she's just arrived, and she was just telling me this morning that she's a professor in economics, and one of her papers is My Child, My Pension, and it's about the silver economy and how Korea is struggling with this, because the reality is children can't manage looking after their elderly parents also, and the economics of it. So that's quite a complicated piece of research work that she's doing. So I'll be very excited to share with her how one video provoked the writing. And yeah, if she was here, she'd say,
A video on the Olympics in
that's
Seoul.
right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So thank you.
Wonderful juxtaposition.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think the juxtaposition itself, the video actually sparked it.
Yeah.
So when the book arrived and I read it again, I said like, wow. I mean, like, of course, this is after a few times watching it, and then this is again, and I'm watching.
But
this
now you see it on a bigger screen, right?
The bigger screen, it's totally different.
Totally different.
Totally different.
Yeah.
I was like, perhaps it will inspire me another thing.
Yeah.
Another piece. I don't know.
Yeah. Yes.
A question for you. So you have been promoting video art over the years as an art form, and I was just curious on how it started and where you are now, where it is now as an art form, and how you've seen it develop, and what your contribution is.
It's a very good question, because we started very actively exploring the different video artists all over the world, but particularly in Asia and in Southeast Asia as well. And I remember going to Vietnam, what is it, 8 years ago, together with my friend Dinh Ki Le, to see what we could do for Vietnamese video artists. And said, well, thought about residencies or whatever. This was before I started this whole thing. And he said, well, I'm not so sure because I don't think there are that many good video artists in Vietnam as well. It's a complicated medium, etc., etc. And now we have collaborated with 5 Vietnamese video artists who are doing really very well. So it's going fast, people have access to videos, even with their phone if they wanted to. It's being more appreciated also in their environment. So there's a lot of potential, and one of the reasons I'm also doing this tour is to see if I can get together with people from the different countries, like next week in Saigon, collectors, philanthropists, to see how they can support their artists, in general of course, but also video artists. And something is growing in Southeast Asia. Well, the economies are growing as well, of course. Something is growing, and then there's more knowledge about video art as well. So, and the good thing is that when we support an artist and they go to the different art institutions, we send the videos that are produced, the dossiers. This is of course what's so wonderful about this electronic time we're living in, to other curators, to other museums, anybody who's interested in it. So it turns out that the work we produce is not only shown in those 5 or 6 art institutions, but in 24 altogether. So that is really a boost, and I was very happy to hear that, because it gives me a feeling that what we're doing is really worthwhile. So yeah, I'm really very optimistic about video art and art in general, I think. And I would like to see if I can be any help here in Malaysia with my suggestions or whatever. I'd really be willing to do that, because any excuse to come back to Malaysia is good for me.
So I have a question about kind of video art in general, because I think with many kind of different mediums, what limits its dissemination and access is that at the end of the day, a painting is a physical object, and to just take the digital image, it would lose so much, right? You lose that physicality. And I think one of the questions I have is, now with video, and with the advent of larger screens that are much more available in homes, the advent of the internet and YouTube, do you think there's a possibility that the video art form will move from, now you see it at an exhibition or a museum, and you can only see it at a museum or an exhibition, or perhaps you acquire an edition, but it's very rarely put out on YouTube, put out openly for people to download and watch in their own homes? Do you think there's a possibility of the future being more open in that way, or would we lose something there?
Yeah, that's a question I hear quite a lot. And as Faisal said, it is so different to see the video on a big screen than in your computer. So that's why, and one of the reasons why we're really hesitant to put it on YouTube, because it requires this big screen, and in some cases, there are installations of 5 different screens that cannot be reproduced that way. And there's also the quality of the sound.
Yes.
And there's another thing that I find really very important about video art, and that is it requires a commitment from the people who look at it. You sit down, not go like Instagram on and on, where you cannot look at something for longer than 5 seconds. For video art, you are really required to sit down sort of meditate on the video. So that is why I think museum space is very suitable. But it's also true that I know a number of collectors of video art, and the collectors of video art are really doing it because they love video art. There's no secondary market. It's not the kind of art that you buy so that later on you can make a lot of money. That doesn't work for video art. So they have projections in their house, different parts, where they just project the videos that their collection. And it works that way as well.
There's a few selections that I've watched when Han gave me. There's one video I can remember the title. It's I think like it's almost 5 minutes. It's like over and over again. Is it a weaving machine? Is it a snail? You know, is it I just don't know. I mean, like looking at it with the sound, I mean, like it become, you know, noise will inside your head. And so there are video arts are not just, I mean, this is quite, you know, because there's images, moving images, but there are others that actually with the horse running, the one that slow motion. I just don't know what it's all about. And you know, I believe that if I just sit here and watch it here, I mean, in the big screen, it will be different reaction. Because from my phone, it was like, you know, the video art is focusing at a certain area, certain parts of the horses. I was like, what is this? I mean, what am I going to write about this? I mean, like, and it's like 12 minutes, 10, 12 minutes. And I'm like, what is this? When I first exposed to the video arts, I was like, oh, this is crazy. I mean, why they call these arts even? I mean, like, but he opened my mind. I mean, like, in a way, because after that we met, and then I said, wow, I mean, like, it's like a rolling, inspiring me to do other things. As you can see, I mean, it's a whole book.
And I must say that most of the writers in the book were not very well known video art. Most of them. So I made converts as well.
You comment about this.
Perhaps if there are no more questions, we can end the program here.